Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ideas in Education. I am Sarah Boulos 5 from Somerset Academy Schools, joined, of course, by my co-host Ryan Kairalla of Doral College. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Great to see you. I know you have something that you're really excited to share with us, so let's kick it off. What do you have for us?
Absolutely. Well, it is college commencement season. We just had the Doral College commencement earlier this week, so obviously I have college on the mind, and as I know many of us who work in education do, because many of us who work in education are often trying to answer two important policy questions. How do we get more low-income students into college? And how do we help them finish college once they get there? Well, research shows that programs that are geared toward improving college graduation rates for these populations can have a positive impact. As recently reported by the 74, a recent study of more than 7,000 Chicago high schoolers showed that students who participated in the OneGoal development program were 40% more likely to earn a bachelor's degree than their peers. OneGoal, a philanthropy-funded program that provides low-income students with personalized academic support, college admissions assistance, and help with financial aid, currently serves 14,000 students around the country and supports students from their junior year of high school through their freshman year of college. Here's a description of the program, Sarah, from the article. Quote, "Participants take a OneGoal class daily for 2 years. They spend their junior year reflecting on their own backgrounds and how they would like to use their talents to augment their communities. They close out the year with a list of colleges they'd like to apply to and spend their senior year examining each school even further before completing their applications, transcripts, recommendation letters, essays, and financial aid forms. Each OneGoal fellow is assigned a counselor to guide them through the process." Now, what I like about the OneGoal program, Sarah, from what I'm reading about it, is it does two things that I think are critical to helping low-income students not just get into college, but actually make it to the bachelor's degree. One is making sure that you instill within these students a sense of purpose. Give them their why with respect to the bachelor's degree, so they don't just see it as the next step, but they understand why and what the commitment entails and why it should be important. And then the second piece is the support, right? We have lots of programs geared towards helping students get into college, getting them scholarships and getting them into the schools. But for a lot of low-income students, particularly first-generation students, it's not just enough to get them in. They need the ongoing support through their first, second, third years to make sure that they stay there. And so I like that piece about what OneGoal is doing too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So a lot of things were running through my mind as you said that. So I know that this is obviously something you're very passionate about because that's part of your mission. What you do at Doral College is to make sure that you're working with low-income students to make sure not only that they have access to college, but persistence. Persistence is really what so much research has been, going over and over again. Why is it that we do not see the persistence through college that we want to see from low-income students? I'm super interested to see what these classes, do the classes continue once they're in college? What do the supports look like once they're in college? I don't know if the article that you read goes into that, but I would be really interested because I think that once students are in college, what prevents persistence is so multifaceted. So what do these supports look like to make sure that students have what they need to continue?
Well, from what I've been reading when I've been researching this program, once the students get into the schools, the support that they're getting is less kind of fungible and more streamlined and geared toward that particular student. It's personalized, I should say.
Wonderful. Okay.
These students need, because persistence among first-generation college students is always a challenge, but the reason why the persistence can have issues varies from student to student. For one student, it might be that their parents are having a health issue. Another one, money gets tight. Another one, the family needs the kid to come back home and help support the family. And so you need the support to be tailored to the needs of every particular student to ensure that that persistence can happen. And so OneGoal talks about how for some students, it's about helping a student get additional financial aid to pay for textbooks. And for another student, it's providing counseling to help them cope with being away from home. And right. So, I mean, you were right on the money there, Sarah. I think if that program were built in a way where every student was kind of just getting the same cookie cutter services once they start college, that isn't going to move the needle. But if you can make it personalized to every student's experience, now you have something that's going to keep them persistent.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because we have so many different reasons why students are not persisting, and they are extremely personal, right? There's not broad strokes that I think we can paint each of these experiences with. We really need to look at what's going on. And as you mentioned, I know I'm thinking of students that I've had in the past where we, in their K-12 experience, we've done so much to work with them and get them to that point, but it doesn't end at graduation and it doesn't end at college acceptance. And so a lot of us, I remember very vividly, obviously we're in South Florida. All of my students have been in South Florida. And I remember having conversations with other teachers where we were talking about, okay, we got this student into this school. It's in, Wisconsin. How are we going to help this child? I mean, the culture shock alone of moving from a community that and you have grown. I mean, we're talking about kids who have never left their neighborhood and are now moving across the country. So let's just talk about like the actual culture shock of going to a place where people look very different from you, speak very differently than you do, not to mention physical aspects. Like, do you have clothes that will keep you, sheltered and warm in that kind of a situation? And we have to look at these cases to that level. Will this student, I was about to say child, but at this point, I think they're not children anymore. But will this student have the physical resources that they need? Will they have the social, emotional resources that they need? Will they have a sense of community once they get there? Because it is extraordinarily isolating and terrifying, if we're being honest, to drop everything move thousands of miles away for this opportunity, this abstract opportunity that you have felt, that you have this immense pressure from your family, that you are the holder of the future of your family. And then what happens if you get there and it doesn't go as well as you thought? What if you fail?
Yeah. And so all the more reason why that kind of ongoing support is critical. And for a lot of philanthropy and a lot of, folks that want to get into this space, right? It's a lot more fun to be on the pre-college side of it, right? Like it looks cool in press releases to say we funded scholarships. We helped this low-income student get into an Ivy League college. That stuff, always looks good in the press releases. But if you really want to create a positive impact, if you want to move the needle for students, if you want to really make an impact in their lives, the real work is done after the kid gets into the college and providing that ongoing support. And it may not look as cool in your press release, but that's where I think philanthropy can do the most good. So I'm grateful for organizations like OneGoal that have identified that. And by the way, they're not the only kind of organization that has understood this. Right. The Dell Scholars Program does a lot of work in this area as well, and I could name countless others, and it's a welcome development to see.
I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
Right on. Well, I know your story, Sarah, keeps us on this happy college vibe, so what do you have for us?
Yeah, it actually, I didn't think it would, but it ties in really well to what you were talking about in a sense. And in a way, it does not at all. But in a way, it kind of does. As you mentioned, it is graduation season. And for a lot of us, that means we're probably hearing about some celebrity commencement speeches. And if you exist on planet Earth, you've probably heard about this particular celebrity who was recently awarded with an honorary doctorate in fine arts and who gave a 20-minute speech to the class of 22 at NYU this week. That person was none other than Taylor Swift.
Yay.
You may be surprised to hear that I have drawn inspiration from her speech, but I did. And I think there are some pieces of advice that would benefit educators and students alike. And specifically, and this is where I'm finding a little weirdly that I'm seeing a connection from what you were reading, or from what your article was saying, but I think there was specifically some really interesting things around pressure. Although few of us know what it feels like to have billions of fans watching our every move, collectively, we have been under, the shared trauma of the last few years with a global pandemic. And that has disrupted not only school time traditions like homecoming and social events, but the very way we learn and interact with each other. Taylor said, quote, "But I can't really complain about not having a normal college experience to you because you went to NYU during a global pandemic, being essentially locked in your dorms or having to do classes over Zoom. Everyone in college during normal time stresses about test scores, but on top of that, you also had to pass like 1,000 COVID tests. I imagine the idea of normal college experience was all you wanted too. But in this case, you and I both learned that you don't always get all the things in the bag that you selected from the menu in the delivery service that is life. You get what you get. And as I would like to say to you, you should be very proud of what you've done with it." She continued on to say, "As a person who started my very public career at the age of 15, it came with a price. And that price was years of unsolicited advice. Being the youngest person in every room for over a decade meant that I was constantly being issued warnings from older members of the music industry, the media, interviewers, executives. This advice often presented itself as thinly veiled warnings. See, I was a teenager in the public eye at a time when our society was absolutely obsessed with the idea of having perfect young female role models. It felt like every interview I did included slight barbs by the interviewer about me one day running off the rails. That meant a different thing to everyone. That meant a different thing to every one person said to me. So I became a young adult while being fed the message that if I didn't make any mistakes, all the children of America would grow up to be perfect angels. However, if I did slip up, the entire earth would fall off its axis and it would be entirely my fault and I would go to pop star jail forever and ever. It was all centered around the idea that mistakes equal failure and ultimately the loss of any chance at a happier, rewarding life. This has not been my experience. My experience has been that my mistakes led to the best things in my life. And being embarrassed when you mess up is part of the human experience." I'll be honest, there's a whole lot of pearls of wisdom in this 20-minute speech, the transcript of which I'll leave linked in the description box. But I really appreciated the reflection on how, regardless of whether we're world famous pop star or a scared graduate or an educator reflecting on their year and hoping to do better, we have all experienced a tremendous amount of pressure, especially in the past few years. And we're looking at making the best decisions for the year to come and possibly facing a lot of pressure to return to normal, whatever that is, pressure with new standards, students who haven't had a traditional education in 24 months, families that have been pushed past their breaking points, and we've all been put under a microscope to an extent. I hope we all get an opportunity to share, reflect, and realize that the best we can do is to be honest with ourselves and continue on. As Taylor said, getting back up, dusting yourself off, and seeing who still wants to hang out with you afterward and laugh about it, that's a gift. I hope we all take a moment to appreciate that gift. And as the class of 2022 graduates, I can only imagine they're looking towards an extremely uncertain future, as so many of us did when we were in their shoes. And with all the teacher pride in my heart, I can genuinely say we're all rooting for you.
Oh, goodness. I don't know what gave me more goosebumps there, what Taylor said or what you were delivering there at the end. I am just in a wonderful commencement mood now. And as both an NYU alum and a huge Swiftie, I cannot tell you how happy I am to be able to count her among our alumni. And yes, I consider her alumni now. We're going to teach her the secret handshake. We're going to expect her at all the reunions. We're going to be best friends. And while you're...
if Bon Jovi is one of my alumni, because he was at my commencement at Penn, then Taylor Swift can absolutely be one of yours.
Fantastic. That is all I ask. While you were bringing up that story, Sarah, I couldn't help but digging through my photos on my computer And this is going to be a treat just for the people watching this on a video on YouTube. But here we go. I can put this up. There we go. So, little thing called...
For those of you watching, Ryan is the one on the left.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I see here, these are photos of a famous superstar and Taylor Swift in these photos here.
Exactly.
Yeah, look, just the fact that we wore the same floppy hat at one point is just a joy to me. But I mean, it was a wonderful speech, and I did read the transcript of it before this show. I'm glad that you were blown away by it too. But her story of just kind of pushing forward, even when people were slamming doors in her face, was really inspiring. She talks about how in the speech, when she was 13 years old and was telling record executives, I want to make country music. And the executives were telling her, well, no, all the country music fans are 35-year-old housewives. You're not going to be able to make music for them. You have to pick another genre. And then she would post her music on MySpace. Yep, she's that old. MySpace was still a thing for her. She was posting her music on MySpace, and she was getting messages back from people, from 13-year-olds, saying, wow, nobody makes music for me, and this is the first I'm hearing of it. And so she knew the fans were there, and she had the courage to press forward in the face of adversity and make beautiful music happen. And I hope that the class of 2022 can live by her example.
Absolutely. It's very humbling and a great piece. And I really just want to share that I noticed as we're recording, I think my phone popped up that 3 years ago is actually when I graduated with my doctorate. And so, we're all getting the nostalgia vibes today as we're thinking of those who have graduated and who are graduating, and just all of the incredible, hopes and dreams that we have for each other. Has it been the traditional experience that we thought we would have? Absolutely not. Does that mean that we're not just so unbelievably excited and proud and hopeful for what is to come? Absolutely not. We're so excited for you, and we are all excited to hear from you. If you've had any other graduation experiences you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear about it. As we're beginning the end of the year, we've got all these college graduations, but we still have so many to come with high schools that are closing. And we'd love for you to connect with us. Please reach out to us using the hashtag BigIdeasInEducation. You can reach us at Academica Media on Twitter. You can reach us at Ryan Kair on Twitter, and at ReadWithByFB. Thanks so much. We hope you have a great week.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.